Welcome, fellow explorers. We very much look forward to sharing with you and getting you prepared for your upcoming trips on MS Roald Amundsen to Arctic Canada and Greenland, because there are a lot of Greenland in both these voyages. So we will obviously be taking those parts into account. As a way of, we're just going to prepare, obviously taking into account your questions that you have asked. We're going to brief overviews, look at the clothing and equipment, the Wildlife Science and Education Program, excursions, and practical information. So that's the aim, to do that. And joined with me are my good friends and colleagues, Verena, our chief scientist, and who's in Switzerland, and Karen, who's in Norway, our VP of Expedition Development. And I'm based in Wales, in the UK. And as I mentioned, this area that we're looking at in the red oval at the top, Baffin Bay, the west coast of Greenland and the east coast of Arctic Canada, that covers these two voyages. Just very, very briefly, of course, you've signed up, and probably many of you have been on HX voyages before, but our voyages are very much built around our heritage, almost coming up to our 130th birthday, which is going to be exciting for us, but also really looking at that mindful adventure, really looking at the sustainability aspects and the curious traveler, the science and education. And those are the cornerstones of any expedition with us. And our trips are very much built around getting that balance between there with incredibly comfortable ships and creating a sense of it, having a sense of adventure around everything we do. Of course, the ship you will be joining in, I was going to say a few months time, MS Roald Amundsen, the first in our hybrid vessel. Karen is the godmother of MS Roald Amundsen, so it's even better that she's in the call, and also that she's recognised with her incredible work being godmother of the ship. We mentioned these two voyages. These both starting in Greenland, and incredible destinations and a really, really magnificent area. I think when we've all been on trips there, somewhere we wish we were going back to, and when we were preparing for this, we were all saying we should be on these itineraries. So we're really excited that you're on there. Unfortunately, we will not be. But Karen, our ship's teams, we've got a slight change between the voyages, but we'd like to introduce the management teams that will be on board.
Yes, so we have, this is only 3 out of a large team. So we have, from left to right, we have German Anita Rollen as your hotel manager. Very, very nice woman. And then you have Captain Rune Alme. He is Norwegian. And we have Yibo Lee. He is Chinese American, living in California, been with us for quite a while, as your expedition leader. And Yibo is one of the guys who are very excited to do new itineraries and being adventurous. So you have a very good EL there, and captain and hotel manager. So that
a slight change on the next voyage, into Newfoundland, changing captain, another fellow Norwegian, Karen.
Yeah, Trond Lippestad, a very nice guy, and he is going to take the second voyage then down the coast of Newfoundland. And I know I've been talking to him about this, and he's looking very much forward to this voyage. So you will have a very, very enthusiastic captain with you.
Brilliant. Yeah. So these will be the team, and again, those of you who've been on trips before, the sort of daily dealings and organisation between the captain, the expedition leader, and the hotel manager, getting the ship in the right place at the right time, making sure everything that runs on the ship smoothly as well as off the ship. So great team and an amazing ship. As I keep on saying a year ago, but maybe a little bit longer, we're now all inclusive, which means when you're on board, you don't have to dip your hands in your pockets for anything, including from Wi-Fi to cocktails, as well as a number of different elements that we'll be talking about through this trip. But the basic day-to-day There's no further need to dip into your pockets, but there are some extras you can do, including a spa. There's a lovely shop on board if you are short of day-to-day items. But in terms of, we had lots of questions, and if you do have questions during the webinar, please do put them in the chat, because there's the team that are in the background answering as we go. But hopefully we'll cover things. But we'll know from your questions. On board is very, very informal. But if I could ask Verena, can you talk us a bit through what our guests here should think about packing for their time on board?
Of course, my pleasure. So as you just mentioned, the atmosphere on board is super relaxed and casual. So you don't need to bring your dress, long dress, or your fancy jacket. But if you want to, please do so. Whatever makes you feel comfortable will be okay. What is important to note is that you will need comfortable flat shoes to be on board, because you will probably want to spend as much time as possible out on deck, and it can be slippery. So comfortable shoes with a good grip are very important. Another thing, if you're going to be out on deck, you will also need sun protection also when you're going off the ship. So very important as well to bring sunglasses and sun protection. Of course, your camera, extra batteries, SD cards, and so on. The plugs on the ship are Type C European, the two plugs. So be also ready to bring an adapter if needed. And your swimming gear if you want to go to use our sauna and hot tubs. There's also a gym if you want to keep in form after eating so much and so good on board. But the most important thing that I could suggest you not to forget are your pair of binoculars, and we will get to those in a little while.
Brilliant. And then Karen, when we go off the ship, I know we've got a few more details based on feedback from previous webinars, so we've got some more slides. But what about preparing for these trips?
So layering system is kind of the mantra here. It means to have a good base layer, have a mid layer, and the waterproof outer layer. So we kind of go chronologically here from the left to the right column here. Have a warm woolen jumper or a fleece jumper jacket, and then you have a good pair of long johns or a good pair of trousers underneath before you put the waterproof trousers on top. And you will get a jacket from us. You can see in the right corner. I'm going to show a little bit more of that. And comfortable walking shoes that, and I think we're going to show a shoe slide as well. So I'm going to hop very quickly over that. For you to bring scarf, buffs, and gloves, very important, and warm socks. This is the Arctic, and the temperatures will be around 0 or minus, in the early minuses, what we call Celsius centigrades.
Yeah. And I think it'd be right to say the geographical range of both these trips, going from southern Greenland, down the Labrador coast, or up into the Canadian Arctic archipelago and up to Tula, the variety of stuff you're going to need is quite a lot. So that layer system is not a lot, but just having lots of layers to make yourself as comfortable as possible. Yeah.
And that's the thing. The layering system is really smart, because it means that you don't need to bring quantity of clothing. You just need that good 2 to 3 layer, good wool base layer of a thin woolly top with a good pair of long johns, and then your mid layer with a fleece jacket, or a thin puff jacket, or like the three of us like to have, is another woolen jumper.
and Karen, we always get we haven't had one yet for this webinar, as far as I know. Ski salopettes, waterproof trousers. What's best?
Waterproof waterproof pants. I mean, and not the really expensive ones. That's not what we're talking about. These really fancy ski pants. Don't worry, don't run out and buy them. A very easy waterproof pants, because you're going to be more on the water than you're going to be in the high mountains. So it's more important to you to be waterproof as you are transiting from ship to shore and shore to ship. So waterproof pants, I cannot highlight it enough. Those are really, really important. And light ones, not super expensive, are more than good enough.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I think generally, again, people say, do I need to buy this? Do I need to buy that? Generally, if you're walking and you're interested in these voyages, you're likely to have all the kit you need at home. So don't feel you need to go. If you want to go shopping and need an excuse to shop, of course, please go ahead.
Yeah, that's fine. We're not,
don't feel you need to. Yeah.
No, exactly. If you want to think a little bit about the environment and.
Yeah. So talking of the environment, we've recently developed this the new guest jacket. This is made from recyclable materials. A lot of thought has gone into the different key aspects, how waterproof it is, etc., etc. So there's lots of elements. These the size range should they are unisex jackets, but they do fit everyone. So there's a big range. So this is just some sort of technical detail, but with pockets, because they're a recycled material, they're slightly softer, so the feel of them is really nice. So it's not a crispy, cold feel. But you will all get one of those when you board, and yours to keep and take home. The other thing we have is our ocean bottle that you will all have in your staterooms or suites. Verena, I know oceans are something that's very passionate for us all, but we've got a partnership with Ocean Bottle. Tell us a little bit about the bottle everyone will receive.
Well, this bottle is made out of recycled material, plastic bottles that have been recovered from the ocean. And each bottle that we give away funds the collection of at least 1,000 bottles. And this bottle, I mean, you will love it. We all do. We all use it on a regular basis. It's durable. It's amazing. It also keeps your drinks warm if you want. They are insulated. And so far in 2024, I can tell you that we contributed to taking or preventing 45 million bottles from entering the ocean. So it is great. It is an amazing thing that we cherish to be able to contribute to this with you by providing you with this incredible bottle.
So you'll all have one in your cabin, and there's water stations around the ship to fill up. We recommend when you go off the ship to take a full bottle with you, especially if you're on a hike. But staying hydrated is of course very important. Yeah. Also, of course, we'll have lots of questions about footwear, and we have these for everybody to borrow for the duration of the voyage, and use for nature landings where we're doing wet landings. Rubber boots. They're a muck type boot, and again we have sizes from 32 to 50 European, which is it's the size range from tiny to massive. We've also had questions about, do we need crampons or walking spikes? No, you don't. No need for those. We also provide everybody, or when you need them at landing sites, walking sticks. Been modelled here by Ollie, who's in the back of the call answering questions. So thank you for the slide, Ollie. The other part, in particularly on these voyages, is not all landings will be nature landings, and also there's an opportunity to hike. So having comfortable hiking footwear is important, and we get asked what's the perfect thing. And some of us, actually not in this call, but some of our expedition leaders have had great fun preparing this slide. Karen, you love kit. Tell us a bit about, talk us through about what to do. You're a gear freak. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, exactly. So what we basically, we are avoiding sneakers. I mean, those light sneakers that you wear when you're going on city streets or concrete or asphalt or whatever, they are too flimsy. And so you can see in the right corner the type of sneakers that I'm talking about. Those are not recommended. But when you come up to the light hiking shoes that you can see, who are both low and with high wrist, and it is good enough for hiking in this terrain. It's not going to be super difficult terrain, but there could be terrain where we are walking on moraine, glacial moraine, and that they have very sharp, kind of edgy stones. So that's why we want you to wear shoes with solid grip, as you can see on those with smiley faces on them, and those that are also give you more support around your ankles, especially around your ankles. So it can be high, it can be low, but it will give you good support. So that's what we want. But just to say, we will have nature landings when we are walking on, when we are landing with our small boats, where we're going to have to ask you to wear our muck boots that Tudor just showed. And then we normally also hike in those. They are perfectly fine to hike with. I have hiked in them in the Arctic and Antarctic for more than 10 years. And they are excellent when you have to cross little rivers or little, streams. You don't have to worry. So, these are for community visits where we do hiking around in the community and so forth. But the pure nature landings, when you have to go on a Zodiac and land right on a beach where you could get wet, these would get wet. So that's why we have that dualism in footwear when we operate in the Arctic.
So comfortable, supporting ankle, preferably with a good sole.
Yes.
Walking footwear.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that we get asked lots of questions, and Verena, you mentioned earlier, the most important thing, or a consideration to take.
Yes, those would be the binoculars. And we also, it is a window to start watching for wildlife when you join us on the deck watch, for example, every morning with the expedition team. And it gets you closer. It provides you with a better experience. We are asked very often what we suggest as magnification. So the 8 times or 10 times is a good magnification that you can get. The bigger the magnification, the heavier and the more difficult it will be for you to focus on a particular object. And if we're talking about wildlife, which is moving, then no, don't go higher than 10 times. And the length of the objective, we recommend 32 to 42 millimeters. Again, because if you go bigger, it will be heavier and it will be more difficult for you to keep track of the animal. So we certainly recommend something between 8 to 10 times magnification and a size 32 to 42 millimeters.
Yeah, and as and some of the things we hope to see, again, it's not you've got to be looking, but there is we do expect to see wildlife, and of course very much part of any voyage. Talk us through some of these, Verena.
Well, seals, we will of course have the opportunity to see a few species of seals. This is a heart seal here on the image. Loads of seabirds. If you like birds, yes, please do not forget your binoculars. You will be seeing shearwaters and guillemots and geeses and other land-based birds like snow buntings and yeah, it will be bird galore. So for that you can be sure. There will also be some land animals like the fox here, or reindeer, or muskoxen also in Greenland to be spotted, and whales, of course, in the water. But not only big creatures, also the tiny ones that we will go out and fish out so that we can share with you and introduce you to the abundance of microscopic aquatic life during our science sessions. So yes, a lot of wildlife.
I know we'll get some questions about the ice bear, the polar bear, and I would say
bear, Tudor.
I know, but I've been reading too many books.
Too much.
But on the southern voyage, the Labrador and Newfoundland, it's very, very unlikely to see a polar bear, but likely you may see other bears. On the northern voyage, going into Canadian Arctic archipelago, then there may be a possibility of seeing bears. We have seen bears on most trips up there, but yeah, that's just the expectations of seeing. But yeah, it's
very good.
As soon as if we see one, we will on board the ship. They will make an announcement and let everybody know.
Oh yeah.
Then it's not just about the animals. Some things don't move, only move in the wind. But Verona, I'll ask you again to talk about some of the Arctic flora.
Yes, well, of course, so high in the north, what we will mostly see or experience is the Arctic tundra, and you will find common plants like the Arctic willow, dwarf shrubs, or beautiful flowering plants like the Arctic poppies or the purple saxifrage, the mountain avon. But of course, this will we will be towards the end of the summer, so some of them probably. The saxifrage will be a gift if you get to see it blooming, but do look there. It is beautiful, and there's always color and it, particularly by the lichens and mosses as well, that will be super abundant. They also provide a lot of color to the landscape, so it will be a nice flora experience as well.
Yeah, and some of the mosses, in the autumn, they're like on fire. I mean, that color is that reddish orange. So, I mean, it's going to be gorgeous. Yeah.
And they really sort of light up the landscape.
They do. Yeah.
They do. Yeah. As well as sort of some of the places we'll see, we just put some pictures in here of, the local cultures, subsistence farming, subsistence hunting. Is still very much part of the culture, whether it be seal, polar bear. This is actually the regional government building in Hopedale for Nunavut. So very much, Nunavut, sorry. So there's still very much part of it, and very much a proud culture and the history. So there's the opportunities to visit museums or government buildings, then really good to take. Also, as well as the early trapping history, then there's a big history of the cod fisheries. So here, these pictures are from Battle Harbour. So those of you that are on the Newfoundland voyage will hopefully visit here. On the left hand is a big drying racks where they were laying out the cod to dry. But also a reminder, we're going to show some slides a bit later about ice. But this area doesn't have a Gulf Stream, so although we're relatively far south, you get these incredible green landscapes, but with big icebergs coming past. So just a reminder of those. And of course, the trip that goes up into the Canadian Arctic archipelago, retracing in the steps of the eastern side of the famous Northwest Passage sailings, heads up towards Beechy Island and Devon Island. So some chilly reminders of the early exploration from some of the graves from the Franklin expedition. But of course, another highlight, and we'll talk about some books at the end to read and talk about those. For those, we mentioned Greenland. Karen, a bit closer to your Nordic heritage. Where are we here?
This is Ilulissat, so this is right in the Disco Bay area, where you also have the incredible productive ice fjord, and where you have something like 20,000 billion tons of ice coming out every year. I mean, it's such an amount that is hard for a human to even grasp what that is. So yes, so the Disco Bay area, very, very scenic and very barren in a sense. This is not where Greenland got its name from. They got its name from the south of Greenland. So here you will see a lot more. You will have patches of moss, but a lot of rock and bare rock. So geology right right in the open, which is very nice for people like Tudor, who is a geologist.
I think, you know, generally the landscape is very raw and young. You know,
Very.
you know, although we get the green in places, it's very isolated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic to be looking at and prepare. Prepare you what to look at. And then on our voyages, we put Arctic Canada here, but of course there's these Greenland part of the Greenland sailings as well. Karen, talk us about some of the activities that our guests can experience.
So you have those experiences that the crew on board will facilitate for you, which is, for example, kayaking. There will be opportunities to do small hikes in areas where there is polar bear danger. There will be smaller hikes because it's difficult then to go far away. You have small boat cruising, and then of course the ship cruising, which I think is very underestimated. Yeah. It's what we kind of do most of the time, but then you come into a very scenic area where you have land on both sides. We go slow. We take opportunities to see coastlines that is hard to see otherwise. And then, of course, we are in the Arctic. In the Arctic, there are people. So there are experiences that involves locals with cultural visits, where they would show you their culture. There will be also encounters with different kind of museums, visitor centers, and so forth in these small places that you go to. There is none of these places you go to that are very big. So every visit is very special for the small communities that we come to. We kind of not entirely take over the town or the village, but we are very prominent. We are very visible in this. So we will also introduce to you community guidelines on how to act when you're there, meaning with respect and, you know, taking photos not inside people's windows and so forth, which is natural for most of us, but good to be reminded. So wildlife spotting, as I said, will be possible to do either from a small Zodiac or from the ship. And so these kind of a little bit merge. So the expedition boat cruising and the wildlife spotting and the ship cruising, they kind of blend. So it could be either from the ship or from a small boat.
And I think it's important to say that there are optional excursions, but we will talk about that a bit later. But the optional excursions are in Greenland, whilst the stuff in Canada is all part of the included activities. Yeah. One of the most important things through the day, be really busy all day, is at the end of each day, the expedition leader and team will give a briefing on the next day. So based on the weather, the activities, what the plan is, what the plan A activity is for the next day. So please either go and watch that in person in the lecture hall, or watch it on your screen on demand back in your cabin. So it's good, really good, and the information will be on your app. So please make sure you download the HX app before you go. And that will provide the day-to-day information in there as well. But we mentioned a lot about the science and education program. Verena, can you talk us a bit through that side? And Karen, I noticed you wanted to talk. We'll get back to you after that.
Yeah. Oh no, I'll just mention the kayaking later. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go to science and education.
Yes.
So the most important part of our science and education program for you to know is that we want to immerse you as much as possible in the destination that we are taking you to. And therefore, we have our expedition teams that are experts in their topics of the specific topics. And we also sometimes have guest scientists or guest lecturers joining the ship who will contribute to the onboard program. But our onboard program is not only lectures, we also offer hands-on activities where you can understand, or we want to provide multiple learning opportunities and with different ways of learning to you during the trip. So we have lectures, we have activities using museum type exhibits like the bone clones that we have on board, or we invite you to use our microscopes to learn more about the life in the oceans, or the minerals that form the many rocks that you will be witnessing. But we also invite you to, as mentioned previously, join us on deck to do to look for wildlife and interpret everything that we are watching during the ship sailing. Like Karin said, the ship cruising is amazing. So again, we highly recommend you to be out on deck as much as possible. But as part of our science and education program, we also have activities off the ship. One of them is the science boat, where we invite you to help us collect samples and data that we share with the scientific institutions. We do also participate in several citizen science projects like cloud observations for NASA or the Secchi disk study, and many others that will be introduced during the first days on board. But we do want to invite you, if you're interested in participating in the citizen science program, you can be prepared in advance by downloading some of the applications that will help you contribute to these programs. Here are some examples. The 3 or 4 that I would highly recommend is eBird and Merlin ID. If you like birds, those 2 are essential. If you like plants and other living creatures, including what you will be observing under the microscope, the plankton, crustaceans, and everything that we managed to fish out, iNaturalist would allow you to help identify what you have spotted. And then Happy Whale, if you like marine mammals. Happy Whale is not an app, it's a web page, but it is an incredible platform where you can not only submit the photos that you capture from whales in order to identify them, but also be informed if that particular whale has been spotted somewhere else, and you can follow it in a world map to see where it goes for to give birth, and their migration routes and everything. So yes, if you want to participate in the science program and be prepared for the citizen science projects, then go ahead and download the applications. I think our lovely Alice will put a slide with the QR codes in the chat for you to have it. Also, I mentioned guest lecturers, and on the Baffin Bay exploration, we will have the pleasure of welcoming Professor Martin Attrill. He is a retired professor from the University of Plymouth, but he's still very active and is the Chief Scientist Advisor for the Ocean Conservation Trust. So he will be joining that particular trip and has offered to lecture on topics like oceans, climate change, marine pollution, and how everything is linked, and how we can help prevent this, the plastic pollution, for example. And then on the other trip, the Baffin Bay, no, sorry, I didn't change the name of that one. It's the one Baffin to Labrador. On that one, we are still waiting to get final confirmation, but we would very probably welcome Dr. David Waterhouse. He is the curator of the Polar Museum at Spry, the Scott Polar Research Institute in Cambridge, and he has a special interest in Inuit art. If he joins, let's cross our fingers, he will be lecturing on topics very relevant to the early exploration of the area, like the Franklin expedition that Tudor mentioned previously. So let's hope that he can make it, and we hope that all this education will help you better understand the destinations that you will go to.
And that's, you know, with the guest lecturers on top of the expedition team of about 22, including a photographer. So we mentioned a bit about photography, but having the onboard professional photographer will be taking photos, but also be able to provide you with hints and tips for you to get the best use out of whether it be your phone or your camera, but at the end of the trip, we will provide a voyage logbook with the best photographers' shots in there to do there. Okay.
And a resume of the science and education program.
Loads of information, loads and loads of information. So part of any trip to the Arctic, ice is part of the experience. Karen, you're an ice specialist.
No, that is kind of taking it far. But anyway, ice is nice, nevertheless. So if we can move on, we have two kinds of ice that you will predominantly see in the areas, and that is when you're moving further out at sea, there will be sea ice, and they are low-lying ice that you can see have been frozen over winter. And then you have glacier ice, which is bigger chunks that you will see, especially in Greenland, around the Ilulissat area. You will see the ice that have been broken up from the ice cap in Greenland, and they kind of float around as this magnificent landscape, tall, and what you see is basically just 5 to 10, 15%, and the rest is underwater. So there are massive ice sculptures floating around. So if we now move to the ice charts, we can give you an update on how it looks now. Now, this is still a bit far away from your expedition because it happens quickly now. This is when things start to open up in the Canadian Arctic, and the season is starting for some of us in about a week's time. And here you can see in the northern Arctic, you can see that it's already breaking up. There are some big red dots, and those are very heavy, dense ice. That is 9 out of 10. So it means it's dense pack ice, but it's not fast ice. The very dark gray up in the very, very north is fast ice, but we're not going to go there. But if you look at Lancaster Sound, if you put this is an area which the first voyage will be going to. And then going down along the Baffin Island coast, you can see there is still a lot of ice in the area mid Baffin around Clyde River. But it is moving quickly now. So this will disperse and become first now it's red, then it's orange, then it's yellow, and then it's green. And then those red and orange dots will become smaller and smaller, and the yellow and the green dots become bigger and bigger. That means that the density is diminishing, and it becomes scattered ice. So a typical ship like Amundsen with a good ice class can go into yellow and easily green. We'll be careful around orange and red because it is just too dense. So we are hoping for yellow and green areas, and it's looking good as of now. This is the lower part of Baffin Island, and as you see, the tip of Torngat Mountain National Park, and that's when the ice is not existent anymore.
Brilliant. So there's no red flags on the ice front right now, and of course, seeing a bit of ice is what we all want to do. But there's no red flags that should prevent us from completing these voyages right now. But it's something that we keep a close eye on. In fact, for all our sailings, all in the polar regions, ice is very much part of voyage planning. In terms of some just practical information, the languages in Canada, of course, English and French, and of course in Greenland we have Danish, but also lots of local dialects as well. So Greenlandic, but also local Inuit languages. On board, we recommend, as we said on the packing list, to take some Canadian dollars and also some Danish kroner for buying some local produce, especially from these smaller places. The currency on board the ship is euro. But again, that's all taken care by onboard and registering a a debit or credit card. So that's all taken care of on board. So no need for cash on board. In fact, we don't have any cash on board. Karen already mentioned the weather. This is the summer in the Arctic, but the variety from -5 to 10 Celsius. Again, that layering principle. On board the ship, we have our Wi-Fi comes onto the ship through satellite, through Starlink. So it is pretty good. It's great for messaging, whether it be WhatsApp, iMessage, etc., etc. It's not so great, and we actually stop things like streaming videos, but accessing news sites, keeping up to date, all great for that. Other questions we get about seasickness. These voyages, you are in Baffin Bay. Baffin Bay is a fairly big, sizable stretch of water, but it is, and you are crossing it. But we don't expect big storms like a big ocean crossing, like crossing the Drake Passage to Antarctica, or even going in the North Sea or the Bay of Biscay, where it's nice and shallow and chops up. So generally, we're expecting comfortable conditions. But if you are susceptible and you get motion sickness, then please do bring some seasickness tablets with you, or wristbands, or ginger tablets. Homeopathic remedy works well. Medication, please do bring ample stocks of your own medication, and like going on a holiday anywhere else, we recommend bringing your medication in your hand luggage.
Yes.
As much as we love our airlines, then they do have a habit of sometimes of mislaying our bag. So important items, please keep them in your bags. On board, we do have a medical facility with a doctor and 2 nurses, very up to date. So you are taken care of there. But we would recommend everybody to have medical evacuation insurance to make sure you're covered. In these areas, we do have, unfortunately, we do occasionally have insects, depending on the weather. We're on a nice, beautiful, calm, sunny day with a nice bit of wet bog or moss underneath, then the mosquitoes can appear both in Greenland and Canada. So again, we recommend, if you are susceptible to insect bites, bring in some insect repellent. Kind of obvious, wearing long sleeves and long trousers. And if you are susceptible, then bringing a head net is recommended, just for that added protection and comfort. So we want you to be comfortable and prepared. I know we get some questions about those. We are also operating in areas that are pristine, or not pristine, but we really want to look after them and leave them as a better place than when we found them. So we're really active in trying to prevent the stop of invasive and non-native species, and trying to keep avian flu out. So we do, every time we go off the ship, we go through biosecurity measures, which involves cleaning our boots, cleaning walking sticks, cleaning tripods, and we also, if needed, we have vacuum cleaners for getting seeds out of Velcro areas. So we really do that, and that will be part of the onboard briefing. So yeah, very, very important to do those things. So before you come, it is quite a good idea to clean equipment before you come. So please don't bring a tripod covered in soil, for example, because there might be all sorts of things lurking in there, or a backpack full of grass seeds, or whatever, from where you've been walking today. Anything more on that, Verena? On the
no, just bring clean or new. That is also a good recommendation. But yes, try to avoid, or look after all the if you have Velcro in the clothing that you are planning to bring, look that there are no seeds locked in the Velcro and so on. Just help us keep those places pristine.
We mentioned earlier about included and optional excursions. Of course, these are on top of all the things like the nature boat landings, expedition crew, boat cruising, deck watches, all those type of things. But in the communities we visit, as a general rule of thumb, here in Greenland, there are optional extras that you can do to enhance your trip, whether it be an ice fjord cruise in Ilulissat, a cultural hike in Sisimiut. There's those type of things which can be booked, and I'll talk about how to book them in a minute. But in Canada, the community visits are included as part of the day-to-day visits. So the Canada part, we don't need to worry. We don't need to worry about anything, but there's the option to do those. You can book the excursions online. Or sorry, not online. You can look at the excursions online. When you go to your sailing, this is a screen grab, then on the bottom right-hand corner of the page, there's a tab you can click, and that will list the excursions for your trip, and you can book those on board, or you can book them, you can have a look, and you can contact our customer support team, and they will make the booking for you, and in there there'll be details as well of how to call them. Karen, you wanted to talk about kayaking, and maybe this is the time to talk about kayaking.
Yeah, because in the activity overview we had, all the activities that we were naming there were community visits and so forth that is free of charge. The only activity that, because is kayaking, that we kind of produce on our own, that will cost anything, will be the kayaking, because of capacity. If we had for everyone, we would give it to everyone, but it's impossible to keep track of that.
And that is only bookable on board.
That's only board, You get the briefing, and you sign a waiver and all of that, and you do it.
And as part of that, all the equipment, from a dry suit to pogies to life jacket to boots, all supplied, and they're in lovely stable tandem kayaks. So and a great way.
Decide when you get on board and do the briefing, and then put yourself on the list there.
And then when we are joining the ship, there are some options as well for embarkation, pre-embarkation, with the flight details. But you should be receiving fairly soon, if you haven't already, your travel documentation with details of your flights, be it from New York, Copenhagen, or Reykjavik, to get you to Nuuk. And then also when you're leaving, there'll be the transfers and the flights. So again, they will be in the voyage documentation, which will be with you at the latest 30 days before sailing, but if you haven't received them already. So that information will be coming, and also what is included in that, whether it's depending on the time you arrive, there may be some orientation tours. We mentioned earlier some books and further reading, which can be wonderful. All three of us have just recently read and have been swapping notes on Wanderlust, which is a book about Peter Frauchen, which is he spent a lot of time exploring Greenland, particularly up in the north, but also across into Arctic Canada. So that's a fantastic book. Particularly for Newfoundland and Labrador, the book Cod is fascinating, and really talks of those that will visit Battle Harbour and the other communities. That's an amazing book. Of course, there's incredible amount of books about the Northwest Passage, the history of Northwest Passage, which of course, brilliant preparation reading those as well, and the finding of the Franklin expedition. Of course, the namesake of the ship, Roald Amundsen, the first person to make the full transit of the Northwest Passage, and of course those areas in the east on the Baffin Bay circumnavigation. It will be there, and then also books like Split Tooth, also about the indigenous populations, and it's story of a young Inuk woman that grew up in Arctic Canada in the 1970s. So some fascinating cultural history, and I think one of the amazing things that you're going to love about this voyage is that variety of the history, the culture, the wildlife, and the scenery. So yeah, I think what we'd say, we're all into the education part, but the the more you're prepared, the more you enjoy. But again, totally up to you. If you like just taking it in when you're there, the expedition team on board will do all that. Please make sure that your passport is up to date. You have at least 6 months valid on your passport. Everybody is required to have a passport. Even if you're Danish and coming to Greenland, you have to have a passport to join. Also, those coming into Canada, then you do need a electronic transport authority, which you can apply for on the Canadian website, Canadian authorities website. I did mine a few days ago, and it's $7. And again, that's just an electronic clearance for you to come in. And a reminder, no medical is required for these voyages, but we do recommend medical evacuation insurance. I mentioned the flight details will be on their way to you in terms of the travel documents, but if any concern, then please reach out. These are our travel detail, our office details for our customer support teams. You're in the call, you're coming on a trip, so you already have those. But if you do have any questions, then of course, please reach out. We have teams there waiting and ready to help. But we very much look forward to welcoming you on board. I know there have been some questions as we've gone through. Ollie's ready here to field the questions. I will stop sharing the screen if I can do that. I was on the wrong screen. Ollie,
hello.
Over to you.
Thank you. Excellent stuff. We've had lots of questions, as you said, Tudor, so I'll dive straight in as we don't have tons of time left. First one is Karen's favourite topic, waterproof trousers / snow pants. The question is, do I need to buy snow pants or bring snow pants?
You need to bring a pair of waterproof pants, but they don't necessarily have to be snow pants, but they need to be waterproof. Snow pants are good because they kind of will keep you warm as well in any kind of weather. So I would say yes, but the most important thing is to make sure that they can take some they can take some water when you're going back and forth. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I would suggest that on these sailings, because the climatic range from the south to the north, snow pants are maybe good in the north, but I would suggest layering with the pair of waterproof pants. What I tend to wear is a pair of thermal long johns, a thick pair of trousers, and a thin pair of waterproof bottoms, and that's ample. Yeah.
Excellent. And we saw the photo of you wearing them, Tudor.
Yeah.
A few minutes ago. So.
Yeah.
I noticed that. And Verena, there's a question around wildlife. So any chance of seeing a narwhal and puffins? So those are the two questions there.
Well, for the puffin side, it would be the right area, but it is a bit late in the breeding season. So they have already probably left the cliffs where they breed. And the narwhal, we're talking about one of the most shy marine mammals in the planet. So, I mean, it's not impossible, but I wouldn't get my hopes very high. They are really shy. They are also super susceptible to noise. And of course, even if our ships are quite
very quiet,
they reduce the noise, so they are silent. These are also animals that will flee whatever is some noise. Karin, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I want to add that both in Canada and in Greenland, where there is the hunting grounds for narwhal, we are not allowed to go. This is becoming an increasing issue with ship traffic and narwhal and hunting, traditional hunting. So there are areas around Pond Inlet, for example, where we, over the last few years, have been told to stay away because the hunters need to get their winter food in, and they have only this small time of the year to do it, and that coincides with the cruise season. So narwhal is, like Verena says, is very, it's almost elusive because the indigenous people don't want us to be in the area where they are, because they know where they are, and those fjords are out of range. But if they are outside and we sort of happen to see them, we'll see them. Yeah.
And we will inform you of it. What you can do is go to the Science Center on Amundsen and look at a replica of a tooth from a narwhal, because we do have 2 there. So do that, and you can see the size of those teeth. It's amazing.
Nice. Sounds good. And then there's a question around the ship's rubber boots and how often people wear them. Tudor, so we saw the picture of you there.
Yeah.
Through the machine, going through the
I mean, again, personally, you know, Karen said that Karen, myself, and Verena wear them all the time going off the ship. Yeah. but for our guests, then, if it's a wet landing and we're doing a nature landing that's going where we're landing by Zodiac on a beach, and you're coming off and you're dipping your feet in the water, then everybody must wear the rubber boots for those landings. For if we're going alongside, as in we're going along a pier in Sisimiut, then there's no need, but you need the decent footwear. So it's based on what the activities for that day. But nature landings, we wear the rubber boots. Other activities landings, then if we're landing at a jetty or a pier, then we can wear hiking boots.
And it also has to do with biosecurity. I mean, on the nature landings, we're visiting very pristine places without a lot of human contact. So we do, that is when you're coming back, you will have the footwear cleaned and disinfected. So better to use the rubber boots than your shoes for that.
Yeah, great. Thank you. And then I'm not sure which one of you wants to answer this, but when I was last in the region, July, August, it was quite foggy. Is September less foggy, is the question.
Depends a little bit on the conditions, actually, because
you got your crystal ball.
Yeah, it is very crystal ball. September can be foggy as well. It depends, I would say, on the temperature. If you have a lot of ice mass, you know, ahead of you or right next to you, you could have fog, but then it kind of lifts around noon. Although you have those
and it really depends on the wind as well, because if you get those still calm days, as you said, with that temperature differential, it can sit there, a bit of a breeze, gone.
It's gone.
It come and go so quick. Yeah.
Right.
So
fog is part of the Arctic. Yeah.
There are lots of questions around ETA, which stands for Electronic
Travel Authority,
which is the Canadian version of such documentation. We're not necessarily experts in this topic, and you're best off normally checking with your local embassy. But I don't know if any of the panel here can comment about them, if you know a great deal about ETAs.
Sometimes, but it changed, and there was a lot that changed through COVID in terms of electronic clearance and electronic, entrance on a cruise ship, et cetera. So it did change around, but my kind of feeling, again, I've just done it to go on another trip, is that sort of belt and braces approach for $7 Canadian. Then for me, it's worth doing it, and you don't have to worry about doing it on board if you have to do it. So there's the recommendation to do it, but again, there's also the element of depending where your passport is issued from, visas. So it's worth checking, but for $7, I would say it's worth having that peace of mind.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. Great. And then there's another one around landings. So I don't know, Karen or Tudor, if one of you could answer, please. But how many actual landings will we be making on Canadian soil, essentially, and Baffin Bay area in particular is the question.
There will be, depending on weather, of course, but 3 to 4 that on Canadian soil. Then you also have on Greenlandic soil. So if we look at the first voyage, taking you from Kikatafwak to, and then you have Isabella Bay, 1, 2, 3 there. And then you have 1, 2, 3. I'm counting. Sorry, guys. Yeah, so we are up to 5 or 6 in Canada, and you are up to 3 in Greenland, because there you also have 3 with jetties, like Ilulissat, Sisimiut, and Umanak. They are all 3. So yeah.
Inside, yeah.
So that's on that voyage. The second one, if I'm just going to go through that quickly as well, now that I have it in front of me, you have 1, 2, 3. This is Zodiac. 1, 2. I would say there is 3. Let me see now. 3, 2. 2-ish with Zodiac and 2 with Jetty. Then you come over to the Canadian side, and you're having
a couple in the Torngats.
3 in Torngat, where it's going to be on the beach, and then the rest is going to be Jetty. So 4 with Jetty, and 3 with if the weather is good, and 3 with on the beach.
Okay, thank you, Karen.
Roughly, guys.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's an expedition and subject to weather, and that's always the caveat that we give. But
that gives you a good picture.
Yeah, that's a good flavour. Thank you. Still lots of questions around ETAs. As I said before, I think it's safest reaching out to your local embassy, and as Judah said, it's probably best to get one just in case for $7 Canadian. I think that's it in terms of the questions. One last one come in. Let's just cover this one before we go. It's another popular one. What about Northern Lights?
So this time of year we are approaching where we will get darkness in the evening, and we are going quite far north. So there are possibilities, chances, particularly on the Baffin Bay circumnavigation trip, to see Northern Lights. And again, if we see them, the team on board will announce those. So so fingers crossed. It's a fantastic time of year as well with the light generally. But yeah, may get to see them. Fingers crossed.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for joining, and thank you to our panel for a brilliant presentation. And we will look forward to welcoming you all on board shortly.
Yes, have a great trip.
Yeah.
Very good.
Enjoy.
Yeah, fantastic. Very jealous. At the end of when we finish the webinar now, there will be a little survey. So if you would please fill in the survey. It's very short. We're very keen on getting feedback and trying to improve these pre-departure webinars to prepare you for your trip. So please do that. And as we've said, we very much look forward to welcome you on MS World Amazon. Have an amazing time. It's brilliant destinations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Welcome
Bye.
on board.